good start to the weekend. We are going to head outside soon for like a little walk in a National Trust site, just before it gets way too hot, because it still is really quite hot, to be honest. And then later at the end of the video, I'm gonna be basically just like doing a massive catch up, because I realized there was like all of these things that had been going on that I hadn't like caught up with and stuff. So yeah, if you're interested in that, that's gonna be at the end of the video, which is pretty much what the bulk of the video is about, to be honest. I just thought I'd have like a nice proper catch up and just like, yeah, just like fill you in on all the different things going on and stuff. And yeah, just fill you in a little bit on like what I used to do before I was a mom and all of that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, I'm not gonna like talk too long now because I yap away at the end of the video. I'm sharing like all the new books I'm reading, and I have like a whole bunch of new books, and one of them's like a winter fantasy, like I think it's meant to be a romance, but anyway, yeah, I talk about it at the end. Let's go on the walk first. And then when I come back, I'll be doing the big catch up. So yeah, let's go. It feels so good to be catching up because like basically it just feels like it's been forever. I was in London for the week, and then I feel like I'm still recovering from coming back from London, and it's just been like a lot. There's been so much going on. So I'm catching up with you downstairs today because the little one's like upstairs doing his thing with Dada. So excited because I have so many like new things to update you on. So the first thing is I've gotten myself a whole bunch of new books. And they're all like secondhand, so they were such a bargain. I mean, this book is so beautiful. It's hardcover, and it's this series of, I think you can see it there, nature poems. I'm a huge fan of nature poetry, so I think there's a series of 6 in this, and having got this one now and seeing how good it is. Obviously I know the poet already, which is why I chose this one, and I know the rest of the other poets in the series as well, but I just wasn't sure what the selection was going to be like or what the book was going to be like, but it's amazing. So I'm going to talk to you about them in a second. This one, which is also the collected poems, as you can see there, Thomas Hardy. It's a massive book. That is a lot of poems. So yeah, I've got that, and then I've got, of course, Gerard Manley Hopkins, and I also got Keats. I think, can you see that? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I've got these 4 really lovely big new books, and I also have this. So as you can see from the type of reading that I usually do, which is like classics, and of course I read different things as well, but usually I stick to this kind of stuff, like quite serious, quite you know, classics, all of this kind of stuff. But I thought I would take a chance because I'm so sick of summer. I know you're so sick of hearing me say that I'm sick of summer, but I am so sick of it. I wanted like a book that's gonna put me in the autumn, winter kind of mood, and I have never read books like this before. This is not my type of reading. Like romance, fantasy. I have actually never read anything like that. I mean, I guess the most fantasy book I've ever read has been The Lord of the Rings. But other than, like I said, other than that, I actually just read things like Thoreau, Kafka. I used to read Orwell. All of these like big like classic guys. I read like, yeah, the Odyssey tons of times. I used to like love that book. I think I've said this before with my brother. We used to read that, and the Iliad, and like make jokes and stuff like that. So like that's kind of like the literature that I grew up with. All of it pretty much like quite serious, whether it was like naturalist poets or yeah, like people like Thoreau that write critical essays. I grew up reading like critical essays and things like that. So reading for me was always like a very serious kind of thing. The only non-serious fantasy I've ever read actually is Harry Potter. It's the only book. But anyway, let me tell you about this one first. I also want to catch up with you a little bit about what's been going on in my life lately as well. So I'll tell you about that first. I'm gonna tell you about that first before I tell you about the book. Basically, lately I've just had a lot of things that I've been doing, so I've not been as active on YouTube. Like I haven't really been able to share as many shorts and stuff like that. I'm usually trying to share like shorts of like the little cows that we see when we're out and about on our walks, but yeah, it's been really hard lately because I've just been busy with a lot of different things. But one of the kind of like main things that I've been busy with has been kind of helping a friend of mine with like a legal case. It's like a US case. And I think I've said before that I used to work in law, so I had like a career in law. So yeah, I had like a career in law for many, many years, and I won't go like too much into that now, but it's been really nice to get back into law in this way. I kind of realized how much I missed it, and yeah, just how much I like it and stuff. So that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's taken up like all of my time, and it's not like that, but it has taken up my time in the sense of like I've been helping them research because they're unfamiliar with the process, the situation that's going on. I've been trying to just help them kind of like understand the process and understand the different documents and just understand how things work and kind of set up a game plan, questions that they should be asking, information that they need to know, you know, things that they need to, information that they need from their lawyer, information that they need from the other side, like to know what's going on. So just like, just basically doing a lot of basically legal work. So that's been really, the situation's not a nice one, but it is, it's not like a criminal or anything bad like that. But it has, even though it's not a nice situation, it has been, I've enjoyed getting my mind back into that legal sphere, and like I said, I've really realized how much I missed it, and I've just been really glad to be helping them, like whenever, whatever time of day, whenever they need me, because obviously being in the US, the hours are a bit different, even though my friend is here. She's my friend, the one I'm helping, she's here, but her family who's going through this different stuff is like in the US, so obviously that's like a bit of a time difference when we try and connect with them and stuff. But yeah, it's been really nice to be able to help, because in the field of law, stuff's like ridiculously expensive, and I find that people aren't always super helpful. So there might be some, you know, there are good lawyers out there, obviously, but I don't think that all lawyers are like super helpful or they will go above and beyond for you. So you know, I'm not, it's not a judgment, it's just like personal experience of what I've experienced when I've needed lawyers, but also just personal experience of working in law for like many years, you know, and I think part of it is obviously just the constraints of the nature of the business. So in case you're interested, the way that it works, and of course every firm is slightly different and these things vary a little bit, but basically you log your time in like 6-minute increments. So like there's a whole thing to talk about, but like you have a target of what's called billable hours, and billable hours are the hours that you can actually bill to the client. So it's like work that you can show that you can charge for. So like I've done this thing today for 2 hours, say you've drafted a contract for 2 hours, and then you can say to the client, yeah, like this is what we're charging you for me spending 2 hours drafting a contract. Usually what happens with billable time is like some of it will inevitably get written off, and depending kind of what level you are at. So if you're like a paralegal, if you're a first year qualifying, whatever, like there's, you know, the supervisors above you will write off that billable time, sometimes completely, but it's, you still have those targets that you have to meet. So what that creates within the dynamic is it's a very obviously business-led type of approach, obviously, because it's not a charity, it is a business, but what that means is it does make it very difficult for you as a lawyer, as a person working in law, to help people perhaps as much as they would need, or to spend as much time with people as they would need. Now, this is something that I noticed in every law firm that I worked at. Some were more firm about these things than others. Other people were a bit more lenient, but it was very much like, well, we can't spend 2 hours on the phone with a client because we can't bill them for that time. So what happens is there's a lot of things that a client inevitably does not understand. They're gonna have so many questions about the process and so on and so forth. And usually those questions aren't like super answered. Again, this varies, but like lawyers will try their best to answer as many of the client's questions as possible, but there is always that thing of like, well, you know, say if a partner spent, because everyone's fees are different, so my time will be charged to the client at a different rate than the partner's time will be charged out to the client. So if a partner spends an hour and a half on a call, and it's kind of like going back, and they might, because it'll depend, you know, all of these things are relative, there's a lot of variables, it'll depend on the client, it'll depend on the partner, it'll depend on the firm, but in general, like, it's hard for, like, it's not something that's like encouraged. I think that's the right word. It's not something that's encouraged. Like, spend as much time as you need with the client, because basically what happens is that could be time that you could be spending on billable work with another client. So not only is it a reality that you are very, very, very busy, you do have a lot of deadlines, especially if you're working in litigation. So it's just a reality that you can't be going around spending 5 hours with each client because there's just not enough time in the day. But there's also a reality where you can't spend endless amount of time with a client either, because you can't charge them for that client. So you're not, so it's very hard. It's a very hard, for me, it was always a very hard balance, a very hard line to walk on, because I'm naturally a helpful person, and I tend to, like, for better or for worse, kind of always go above and beyond for people. So it was always one of those things where I was like worried when I spent too much time with a client, and then obviously worried like work-wise, stress-wise, because I was like, well, I've written 7 billable hours for today, but the reality is, like, they might write 4 of those off, you know? So it's like you're constantly like battling with like what you need to do for your supervisor and your firm and your team and your job role, but then against like financial targets that the firm or your team has, against the client needs. So it's a tricky kind of kettle of fish, so to speak. But this is where I've really enjoyed being able to do this for my friend, because I've been able to spend as much time as they need, be available whenever they need, answer all of the questions that the lawyer won't answer, because like I'm saying, sometimes, and this is like not nice, but not all of them do this, but sometimes they just won't answer. They just won't get back to you. And usually you're like dealing with the paralegal, and the paralegal can't answer some of these questions because they're very technical and she's not sure. And so it's really complicated. So I really enjoyed being able to be that person that they're like, here's this document, what does this mean? And I answer right away, you know, like that's something that you're just not going to get from a business relationship with lawyers that you are paying, surprisingly, because you would think, well, I'm paying these people an exorbitant amount of money. Certainly they should be the ones that, I've got this new document, what does it mean? Tell me, answer me immediately. But it just doesn't work like that. Being on both sides, it just doesn't work like that. You know, things come in all the time and they're always answered in order of, you know, whatever priority or client needs or whatever it may be. Or sometimes it's like just supervisor demands or supervisor like what they've told you to do kind of thing. So yeah, long story short, we're still in the middle of it. It's not resolved yet, so let's see how it resolves. Obviously I'm hoping for the best resolution possible. It's tricky. If she ever allows me to kind of talk about it without names or without anything like that, I can share a little bit more about what's going on, and just kind of but just the legal side of it, not like the personal life side of it, just like share the legal stuff that we've been dealing with, or that they're dealing with and I'm helping them get through. But yeah, I've really been enjoying that. I've been enjoying being able to be there for someone, not have to worry about charging my time or billable hours or any of that kind of crazy stuff, and just be there for someone and help them. And I can see, well, they're constantly, you know, so grateful and thanking me because yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, is like it is hard to get that level of clarity and those answers, unfortunately, from the people that you are in a business relationship with. So like I said, just being able to be that person has been great, just really great. So whenever they're always like, thank you for helping, or like, sorry to ask you again, I'm just like, don't be sorry, ask me whatever you want, send me whatever you want, like I'll look at all of it, I'll read it all, like it's no problem, you know. That's my approach. And obviously it's not something that I would do for like everyone, a whole bunch of like free legal work all the time. I'm not going to start running like a free legal clinic or something, but it has actually really inspired me to do a bit of an outreach to like charities or organizations that do this particular type of law work, where I could maybe just volunteer, or obviously I'm happy to be paid for my time as well. I've got loads of years of experience, so it's not like I need to do an internship or something. I could very much have a job, but I'm just saying I'm coming from the place where like this particular area of law is very understaffed and there's a lot going on, and I would be glad to just lend my hand, like lend a helping hand without needing anything in return, so to speak, just because I want to do the work to help others. So yeah, that being said, let's move on to my fantasy books, right? Like total change of subject now, way less intense. Yeah, so this book, right? It's very famous, isn't it? Like it's very popular, like romance fantasy book. I actually didn't even know, I thought it was a romance book, but I don't think it's overtly a romance book. Anyway, I have to say I am really enjoying it. Like I said, I was looking for something that was like autumn, winter, like honest to God, I literally put in Google, I was like, what is the most wintry book that I can read right now? Like I want to immerse myself in the snow. Like I just can't cope with this. Like I feel this must feel so random, like the blue skies, the constant sun. Yeah, so anyway, so that's how I came across this book. And yeah, in case you don't know about it, it is a story, a fantasy story, obviously, because it's about fairies. And it's like some woman that travels to an Arctic region to, I don't know if this is a real place or not, by the way. I should have probably looked this up on the map, which sounds really stupid because I've done a lot of travel to Norwegian countries, but I am so sorry. I don't know if the place in this book is real. It doesn't sound like a real place, but I don't know. Anyway, she goes to like some Arctic area. It's really cold and it's really snowy. Thumbs up. And then she's basically like looking like she's a professor in Cambridge and she studies fairies. So it's really well written from the point of view of like the writing is nice. Like it's not cringe writing. Like I've read Twilight, actually. That's another fantasy book that I've read. I've read Twilight, and the writing, like, and I'm sorry to say this because I'm not trying to critique another author, but the writing is like cringe, especially if you've grown up reading like Thoreau and Keats and stuff like that. You know, the Twilight writing is not what you would call, you know, that kind of writing. But it's not meant to serve that purpose, really. It's just a fantasy feel-good story, isn't it, really? So anyway, the writing, in my opinion, in this book is nice. It is enjoyable. It doesn't feel cringe. Some of the scenes between the girl and the guy, like the male protagonist, who I think is her love interest, who I think likes her, that's how kind of unclear it is for me. He's one of the things in the book that I just like don't get. I am not attracted to him in any way. He's not interesting in any way to me. He's a little bit more interesting now that I don't want to spoil it, but he's not human, so he's a little bit more interesting, because like, oh, okay, he's like, you know, but yeah, the I don't know, I feel like the descriptions of him, like of his behaviors and the things he says and the way he acts, like he, to me, is not sexy. Like, he's not like a love interest that I would be like, oh, I'm so curious to know what he's gonna do next, because I'm just kind of like, that's so cringe, like what's he doing? So kind of like sometimes I feel like the interactions between them don't feel authentic, or like real lifey kind of thing. But having said that, like, I guess that could just be like a critique that, you know, maybe is like too heavy or something. I don't know. Like, it's like I'm saying, it's a really enjoyable book. It's really great if you want to have like that kind of like constant snow scenery. Every time I open it, I know that I'm immersed in like a snow world, and I've really been enjoying it to the point where like I actually haven't been able to put it down. In about 3 days, I almost finished it, so I actually had to stop reading it just so I wouldn't get through it. So it is a really good book. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, it is written really well, and because she's meant to be a scholar, like a professor and a researcher at Cambridge who's researching fairies, it is written in a very good way, in that kind of like, I hesitate to use this word, but in this kind of like intellectual approach, where obviously it's about research and it's serious, and you know, I like her. She's relatable as a female protagonist to a degree. For me, everyone's going to relate to the protagonist on different levels. For me, I like that she is kind of quiet and focused on her work. That's a nice thing. I don't obviously relate to like much more than that to her. And like I said, the male protagonist I don't find at all sexy. Like, I don't have like a clear image of him, and the image that I do have of him is almost like a bit of like a bumbling toddler. So I've got a toddler at home, so yeah, it's but like, look, like I said to you, like, having said that, I mean, this is the thing, like, insufferably dashing rival. I don't know if I've missed the description of him or what, but there's no dashing here. Like, there's nothing going on for me about this guy. And I think what also puts me off is like his name. So his name's Wendell Bambleby. I couldn't be attracted to a guy with a name like that. I know that sounds really harsh, but like I'm saying, having said that, the book's super enjoyable. It's a really fun read. If you haven't read it and you're into snow scenery and you want to feel a little bit of snow and coziness and stuff like that, definitely read it. There's a lot of scenes of her in the cabin, and there's scenes of them in the snow and all this kind of stuff. There's a bit of, if you're sensitive, like I've said before, I am a little sensitive. There is a bit of like quite dark fairy imagery, quite, I think you could say, scary. It's not a book I would probably give to someone who's under 18 or 16. But then again, we all have different levels of what we think is appropriate for different ages. But like, even though the scenes are not long or drawn out, and they don't particularly revolve around those instances, there are instances of, well, there's one quite strong instance of violence about before you get about halfway through, and then which the male protagonist kind of undertakes, but yeah, then like before that there's kind of like these quite scary dark instances of like bad fairies and stuff like that in people's homes. So if that's something that you're not into, like I'm saying, I'm not into that at all. I really didn't like it, and sometimes it still plays on my mind, but even like that, it might be still a book that I would reread. I don't know until I get to the end of it, but it has been really enjoyable. I know like the first kind of like 100 pages. Like I said, I just couldn't put it down. I was really enjoying it. I love the scenery and stuff like that. So yeah, that's that one. Now, I'm not going to talk your ears off about these, because first of all, these are classic poets, classic literary library staples, so to speak. But I'm just going... I wouldn't say I've read a lot of poetry. Well, I mean, I have. I used to read Baudelaire's Flowers of Evil kind of like every day for a time when I was younger, when I was like a teenager. But honestly, like, aside from reading him, I hadn't actually read that much poetry. I was aware of these guys, and I'd read the odd thing from time to time because, like I said, this is the kind of stuff that I would read when I would sit down to read. But I'd never actually had whole books of their collected works. So I also wanted to share with you two other things. The first one is I'm writing a novel. I'll share more about that in due time, but I'm writing a novel. I'm taking it super seriously. I have published stuff before, poems actually, which is why I used to not read too much poetry, because I didn't want it to influence my writing or come out in my writing style. And in fact, when I sent my poetry to a few professors at the time, I think one was in Columbia, one was in like NYU, I sent some stuff to them, and they liked it, and they said that it was like reminiscent of Emily Dickinson and Lord Byron. And interestingly enough, I'd never read Emily Dickinson. I still haven't read it to this day because I'm worried that if I read it, it will resonate too much with what naturally comes out of me, and I don't want to have any crossover. Like, I don't ever want to write something and wonder if I'm writing that because I read it in an Emily Dickinson book. So I've never read Emily Dickinson, but they both said that it was reminiscent of that, but not in a way where it was like copying. Just same with Lord Byron. I've actually never read Lord Byron. After I was told that, I went away and kind of read a few Lord Byron things, and I wasn't sure at the time if I could see the similarities or not, but I did like his work. So that was another one that was hard to not pick up and read, because I was worried, again, I didn't want it to rub off on my writing. So yeah, writing is something that I've done since I was a little kid. I wrote my first story when I was like 7 years old or even younger. And it was like, yeah, so, and then I was kind of like, in the States, when I lived in the States, I used to do a lot of creative writing, and I was like, just, you know, really encouraged by my teachers to do that as well. So they actually, I think it was like my 5th grade or 6th grade teacher or something like that. She, like sent me off as a submission or something for like, to be featured in the LA Times. So I was featured in the LA Times for like my writing and stuff like that. And I'm not saying this to like show that I've got accolades or anything like that. It's more just to show that for many, many years I've been writing and I'm really into it. And now I've always wanted to write a novel, and I started writing one when I was about 17 years old. And then, but it just, there was something about it that just didn't work, or I don't, not didn't work, but like there's just something about it, and I left it unfinished and started writing a completely new one. It's got nothing to do with the other one that I wrote before. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm going to take it really seriously. I'm going to finish it, you know, write it all the way through, and then, yeah, see where I go from there. But that is definitely something that I'm doing, which I'm really excited about. I'm spending loads of time trying to get that done, and I'm really enjoying writing again as well. So on the subject of writing, I also used to have a blog, which I used to write on, well, a Substack. So before I had a Substack, I actually had a blog like years back, and I used to do like articles like on musicians and stuff like that, and interview like my like musician friends and things like that, and feature them on my blog. And that was like years ago. And then eventually I couldn't keep doing that anymore because I moved, and I wasn't around my musician friends anymore, so I couldn't keep doing that. But yeah, so I've always had like some kind of writing thing going on the side, and yeah, I think like, I don't know if it was like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I can't remember now, maybe it was like 5 years ago, maybe it wasn't that long ago, I don't know, but I started a Substack as well, because again, I really like to write kind of like critical essays, so that's kind of the writing that I've done a lot on. Actually, I actually got accepted into Sarah Lawrence for my writing. I applied to Sarah Lawrence for my writing, and I was asked to submit something like 2 pieces, and I think I submitted 2 like critical essays, like something of the style that you would see, that not in Thoreau's style, because I don't write like he does. I mean, I do write the way he does, with like expansive vocabulary and this kind of thing, but I wouldn't say I write in his tone, because I'm not trying to copy him. But yeah, I submitted 2 critical essays, like, and yeah, they really liked it, and I actually got accepted off the back of that. I never was able to attend, unfortunately, due to like several different circumstances, but would have loved to. Now my writing project is my novel, but my Substack, which like I said I've had for the last few years, I just recently changed it to just like a Gilmore Girls blog. So it used to be like a really serious blog where I would write, like, again, just kind of these critical thinking pieces, but they were written very casually. They were not written in an academic way. They were just written quite casually, and they were about like yoga and yogic principles, and kind of like the connection and the intercrossing of different spiritual texts. So like I would see something in the Bible, and that was repeated in a Krishna text and a Buddhist text, and I would like highlight that and, you know, put it together and talk about it and things like that. So it was academic in the sense of like what it was, but it wasn't written in an overly academic way. But anyway, I've changed that now because I need a little bit more lightheartedness in my life. So that blog is now no longer an academic exploration of Vedic principles, but instead it is a casual chat about Gilmore Girls, because I have watched it so many times, and like sometimes I'll just be watching the show and I'm like, oh, like why are they doing this, or why did this happen, or why did they write it this way, and that's so annoying. So yeah, if you're a fan of Gilmore Girls and you like that, I have I have that blog, so it's linked down in my description. You can click on it to see it. But yeah, so those are kind of the different things that's been going on, the different things that I've been working on. But I'm gonna leave it there now because it's very long. It's 30 minutes now, so I'm just gonna stop yapping. But yeah, and then the last thing, just to finish on quickly in terms of what I've been listening to, I'm not gonna go on and on. It's just been Velvet Revolver, actually. Velvet Revolver and Stone Temple Pilots. Velvet Revolver and Stone Temple Pilots, because I've just really been enjoying, as a throwback, getting back into that, so it's been really nice. But yeah, that is my long catch-up of the week. I hope you have enjoyed watching. I hope you enjoyed the nature scenery, as always, the peaceful kind of like countryside views. And I shall see you in the next one, where I'm sure I won't have such a long catch-up, but this was like much overdue. There's just been so much going on, and I realized like I haven't shared about my novel, I haven't shared about my blog, haven't shared about my new books I've been reading. Like, yeah, I just wanted to do like a proper catch-up. So yeah, I will see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for being here. Lots of love, and yeah, see you soon. Bye!